of Godly Geeks Studios. I'm AB.
I'm Ryan Maniac.
And this is Movie Reviews.
Movie Reviews.
And we are finally on episode 9!
Of the Star Wars franchise. The final film of watching all the Star Wars films. We finally made it to Rise of Skywalker. First off, just want to apologize for the fact that this video is taking so long to get out. We originally wanted to record it like the first weekend it came out, but just due to the holiday stuff, we couldn't redo it. Then she got super sick, and so we are now getting time to actually sit down and actually talk about it.
This is actually the first time we've seen each other since the last video.
Yeah.
That's how long it's been.
Also, you may have noticed I've lost the beard.
You got a new job!
Yes, I got a new job. So, one of the requirements I didn't find out until I started was you have to be clean shaven. So, the beard is gone for now. So
he could get a goatee later.
I could get a goatee. We'll see what happens. But for now, I'm babyface Ryan.
Hi, babyface.
Hi. You just have to get used to it.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, episode 9, Rise of Skywalker. The final film is
First off,
of the Skywalker saga.
First off, if you're watching this and you haven't seen the movie, leave!
Spoilers!
Get out of here! Just go!
Giant letters covering
Go! Just get yourself out of the house, into the car, drive to the movie theaters, buy the ticket, go into the movie theater, and watch the movie. Then come back here.
Just giant spoilers right here on the screen.
Because we're not stopping. We're just going to go.
The whole screen right here is just going to read spoilers. You're not going to be able to see us at all. It's just spoilers, okay? Okay, spoilers. If we spoil anything for you, it's your fault for continuing to watch.
Yeah, it is your fault because we told you like 17 times. Spoilers!
Okay, so first off, overall, what did you think of the film as a whole?
I actually really enjoyed it. It was glorious.
Yeah. I'm personally rather split on. I have the sort of same feelings I did with Last Jedi, in which there were a lot of things about it I really liked, and then there was a lot of things I really thought were really stupid. So, yeah, and it's just a very mixed kind of film, so yeah.
This is going to be an interesting
This is going to be an interesting review. This is going to be the longest of all these Star Wars reviews, most likely. So the general plot about this film is that there's this broadcast that's been sent all across the galaxy with a declaration of war from the supposedly dead Emperor Palpatine, who was killed at the end of Return of the Jedi. And there's this broadcast from him that's sent out all across the galaxy. And Kylo tries to find him to find out if he might be a threat to him ruling over the First Order. And the Emperor pretty much says, here, if you follow my orders, I'll give you complete order over the galaxy. And he turns out he has this giant fleet of Star Destroyers that can just...
Giant.
That pretty much have a Death Can on them. So, Death Star 4. A Death Star 4, pretty much. Just on a ship this time.
But on every single ship.
Yeah. And there's
1,000 of them.
And so the general plot is that Rey and all the rest of the Resistance are trying to find where the Emperor is and pretty much stop him before they pretty much destroy the entire galaxy. And we also get a lot more confirmation on a lot of Rey's backstory and other things like that.
Yep.
So, yeah, like I said, this film is just so all over the place to me. I don't know if I really care for it, to be perfectly honest. Like I said, there's parts of it I like, but there's some really, really stupid things about it, too.
Yeah, I actually enjoy all of it.
All of it? Everything about it?
I did. Well, most of it I saw coming, and most of it was like, yeah, it's a pretty good storyline.
Honestly, I felt like the one thing that was very distracting to me is that I unfortunately kind of called it with the Last Jedi review, is that they ended up retconning a good chunk of everything from Last Jedi. It's
not
like,
really.
It feels like a good chunk of it was just like, remember all of these big important plot details and development we got in Last Jedi? Throw that out the window. We're just doing completely new stuff. And it throws in these big, giant ideas. Like, the return of Palpatine. How's he back? Don't know. Like, he gives these big, giant ideas, which sound interesting on paper, but should not be ideas that are presented at the end of a trilogy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, one movie is not enough to develop all these ideas. Like, Palpatine suddenly being back. Had it been like Force Awakens he was hinted at, or even Last Jedi, that'd be one thing. But it's just like, Palpatine's just alive. How? Something, dark side. What's his plan? something control over the galaxy. And
well, I think honestly, this is where we differ. This is probably going to be the one review that we don't agree on a lot of things. So, I mean, with Palpatine, he told us in the prequels he knew how to bring people back to life. The dark side could do that. None of us really believed that because we really didn't see it. But that's how we got Anakin over. And then, we saw him die. But in this movie, he did say that he did die.
Yeah.
But he resurrected himself. We also know from episode 3 that he knew how to do that because he said that he did. So he never showed how to do it, and then we never really believed it. But it was, you have to look at all the Star Wars all together, not just these three different separate entities.
Yeah,
they
but
that's in with all 8 other movies.
Well, that's ultimately the problem, though, is that the prequels and the originals at least had their own self-contained story for the most part. I mean, the prequels led into the originals, but for the most part, you could watch them on their own and their own story. Whereas this one's you have to have seen all the other movies in order to get it. You can't watch the sequels alone on their own. And the idea of him resurrecting himself, that's cool. But it's had it been brought up in Force Awakens and then led up to this point, then I think it would.
I don't think it would have been as big of a reveal.
Yeah, but at the same time,
first shot.
It's Palpatine has had zero mention really throughout all the other movies, and then all of a sudden he's just here. To me, it just comes off as real lazy. Just I'd wait because of such of the hate of Last Jedi, it feels like they're just let's bring back some other stuff that people like. That'll get people.
I don't feel like that's what they did at all. I mean, I don't think you can write a movie just because it's based off of what everybody else said.
I don't know.
And I don't feel like they'd completely. The only thing that I really believe that they retconned from Last Jedi was the whole Rose and Finn thing. Other than that, I don't think they really got rid of anything else. Kylo Ren redid his mask, but he only wore it a few times, and then he got rid of it again. So it was he was still fighting, just like he was in Last Jedi.
Yeah.
So it's I don't really feel I feel like this movie was still playing off of the emotions from The Last Jedi. In the sense of Rey's character, Finn's character, all of that. Except for the one main thing, we didn't really have a lot of Rose. I personally like the storyline of Palpatine because it plays into that, well, how did Snoke become a Sith Lord? Who trained him? It shows who trained him. It shows that who was the main person that controlled everything. And it's underneath, you knew that there was an underlying dark side, just like there's an underlying light side. And it's this person's been controlling it all along. Yeah,
but at the same time, it just feels like there was this big build-up of Snoke in Force Awakens and Last Jedi. This big, powerful thing. And then this one's just he's just made in a lab by Palpatine. Just forget him. To me, personally, it just felt real lazy trying to explain away these big things that the other films were setting up. And then it doesn't really feel like it has as big of a payoff. To me, personally. Along with some other things that are revealed in the movie. For instance, the big reveal of Rey's lineage. I knew was coming. Or I felt... Well, I take that back. I didn't know it was coming, but I had a feeling they were going to do something like that.
Yeah.
Words revealed that... Again, spoilers.
But, to understand, something that's kind of interesting, my dad pointed out, because me and my dad saw it together, so then we kind of talked about it. One thing my dad talked about, with her being his grandchild, we understand when she was in Last Jedi and she went through the Force and she just went straight into the big huge hole, which was the dark side. And Luke was like, you can't even try to stop. There's a reason why she didn't even try to stop, is because it's inside of her. She's part of the dark side. And she's also part of the light side, because the Force is both. The Force is not just good and it's not just evil. It's actually both, and it's supposed to bring complete balance. And honestly, I think she is the complete balance of both light and dark.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why she has an orange lightsaber at the end of the movie. That is to represent that she's a great Jedi. She's not a Sith, but she's not a Jedi. She's we have to balance both, or we're constantly going to be doing this.
Yeah. But, like I said, these ideas are good ideas. They're interesting, and they're thought-provoking. But I just feel introducing them at the end of a trilogy is just way too late in the game.
I also think...
Because, it has... Because when you put it that way, it's it has to introduce it in that movie, but in that same movie, with like a bunch of other stuff going on from the other two movies, has to wrap up that as well. And so that's why I feel like this movie has just way too much going on. And it has good ideas and everything in it. It's just, there's just way too much going on in the film that it doesn't feel like each thing gets its own time for its proper, going its course.
I also have like heard a lot of people talk about, and I've done some research too, that even some of the, some people were saying the comics aren't like canon anymore because Disney bought them out and all this other stuff. But in reality, a lot of this stuff's actually talked about in some of the comics of Star Wars, with Lucasfilms and like George Lucas and all that. So they're saying that is also canon into this. So like we can't just. I think my whole thing too is like everyone wants to see this as standalone, but the one thing Star Wars is not. It's not just a standalone movies. You have to watch you have to watch Rebels. You've got to watch Clone Wars. You've got to watch, you've got to read the comics. You've got to look into the backstory of this, okay? You've got to watch everything in some form or fashion ties in together. And it's a lot of stuff, and I don't really think that's the best thing in the world because people don't have time to watch all that stuff. I know I don't. And you don't have time to especially if you're introducing someone, well, you got to watch this, and then you got to watch these, you got to read this, I think that's too much, but if you look at it as a whole, it all goes together. Yeah. And I think that's what people get so upset about is because there's so many people that they just watch the movies and they don't read or they don't do other things or whatever. I thought it was a great movie and I think it ended very well. I think it ended the whole saga because one thing that's really good for me was I watched all 8 of them right before I went to see this. We watched all 8 of them, plus the 2 in between. And so I still had the freshness of episode 1, 2, and 3 and what Palpatine said in episode 3 with, Anakin about being able to bring us. I was like, it was brought up in episode 3. I also remember in episode 4, 5, and 6 of how Palpatine literally was controlling everything, and we see that at the very end of episode, 6, and how he was controlling Darth Vader, and then when Darth Vader realized he was controlling him, whatever, we thought that was the end. But then we see that somehow someone else is controlling Kylo Ren, which was Snoke, but then someone's controlling Snoke. Everyone's being controlled by something. They just don't know it yet until the big reveal. And Kylo Ren in this movie was I don't want to be controlled by anyone. I am the creator of my own destiny, which I think was a big development in him because he was no, I didn't. I killed Snoke because he was in my way, and I will kill you because you're also in my way because I don't want anyone to tell me what to do.
Yeah, that was interesting. And then also just, I don't know. Again, just the thing with Rey with Palpatine. I like the idea. I just don't feel like they go enough with it. At the end, where the ladies at the farm is just what is your name? Rey. Your last name? And you're oh, well, she's gonna save Palpatine, taking this name that's associated with such evil, and it's gonna now apply it to good, and then she just drops Skywalker, she's well, that was that. What was the point of her being a Palpatine? If she's gonna take on the name Skywalker anyway. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like if they're gonna introduce a big idea with that, go full forth with it. Explore all the ideas, but then at the same time, introduce it a little earlier, because I don't know, it just kind of comes out of nowhere, in my personal opinion.
I also think, too, some people may say something differently. I think that the director of The Last Jedi, I know that all the movies in some form or fashion have been, they were written by George Lucas, the prequels and, the originals and stuff, and then they had different directors. But I think the biggest problem that we had with this was we had 2 different creative minds looking at what they wanted to do with Star Wars. Yeah. And they couldn't agree on something, and I don't think they tried, to be 100% honest, because if you really look at Force Awakens in this one, it seems like it flows. I'm just being honest. It's you kind of still see the funniness and the quirkiness of that was in Force Awakens, and you see that Palpatine is brought up, and you see how it still relates to the original trilogy, and like Force Awakens did. Last Jedi was just whatever that was, it was a great movie and it was good, but at the same time you felt you could tell that it was 2 different viewpoints and 2 different creative minds. I'm not saying that either one of them was wrong. I'm just saying that if you're gonna make something and you're gonna try to tie it all together, you've got to look at it and go, okay, this is what they did here. So you're also directing the last one. Well, what? So I need to kind of hopefully not completely ruin it. But I also think this one was like, well, this is just my plan, and I know that this is what he did in Last Jedi, but I'm not going to change it.
Well, it was going to be like a different one every single movie. But then after all the big backlash and hate for the direction it was going with Last Jedi, Disney went, okay, we're going to bring J.J. Abrams in. And supposedly, the final product was very different from what J.J. actually had. Like, apparently they changed it and cut it up so much he didn't even know it until the official premiere of it. So even with him on it, there's a lot of it that's not what he actually intended. And it's mostly just Disney trying to play it safe and trying to win back everybody. But at the same time, trying to please those people that did like Last Jedi. And so it's all over the place.
But I think the biggest problem too is, no offense because I'm a Star Wars fan, but Star Wars fans can be the meanest people in the world.
They can.
Like, we see what they did to, Jar Jar Banks, the actor that played him.
And Jake Lloyd.
Jake Lloyd.
How their lives were pretty much... And a good chunk of the other actors.
How people just are like, no! This isn't how it's supposed to be. And honestly...
It's ruining my fantasy.
Well, that's your fantasy. You're not the director. You're not the writer. And, maybe people won't like that because I said that. But honestly, at the end of the day... It's a great movie and it's still a great trilogy. And we can nitpick and go, nah, that wasn't really great, or they did this wrong, or they did this. But at the end of the day, are you gonna sit there and you're still gonna get the goosebumps when you see the lightsaber come out for the first time with Obi-Wan in them? Are you still gonna get the feels of them flying through space and blowing up the Death Star over and over and over again? You're still gonna get those emotions. You're still gonna cry a little bit. When Leia passes away, you're still going to cry when Han Solo dies. You're still going to have these emotions no matter what your feelings are. You may say right now, I'm never going to watch that movie again. But 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, you'll rewatch it and you go, okay, it wasn't as bad as I thought. It was just my expectations were different.
We're so way up here. And then the creator's intentions were much at a different point. That's the problem with Star Wars fans. They all have different expectations of what they want the series to be.
Honestly, I think that's because when the first movie, Episode 4, ever came out, the expectation was that it was going to bomb. But then it became this, phenomenal thing. And you had our parents grow up with Episode 4, 5, and 6, which were, in those times, amazing movies.
Well, actually, I'm not sure if you noticed, but actually 5 and 6 were very poorly received when they first came out. Even though they are great films. Pretty much every film of the Star Wars franchise that got released after 4, somebody hated it in some sort of fashion and said, they're ruining Star Wars. And that's just the unfortunate curse that Star Wars has.
And I just don't understand how someone's like, you're ruining Star Wars. Well, did you create Star Wars in your brain one day? Did you just wake up?
That's pretty much what the Star Wars fans is. Each one has their own idea of what they want the universe to be.
And I think that's so much worse than any other fandom because, you can't enjoy something because everyone's... If you're like me and you actually enjoy this movie, then you're going to get backlash from people that actually don't like this movie and go, well, you're not a real true Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
That's not correct. I think everyone is a Star Wars fan and they all have those different views and different thoughts. Just like Ryan does. I understand his views, and I may not agree with his views, but I'm like, well, those are his views, and those are his opinions. These are mine.
Yeah, it's just every fan wants their own particular thing. Someone wants this ship. Someone wants this idea, the Force and the dark side and all that sort of thing. And just there's way too many to go on to please everybody. Which is the same with any sort of medium, really. Yeah. Not everybody's going to get their way. And ultimately, it's just the creative minds behind it.
I really, honestly, seeing from episode 7 all the way to this, the character development of Kylo Ren actually is my favorite.
Yeah, it really is.
His character development.
Just seeing his struggle between the light and the dark
and
is
seeing
really good.
His sacrifice at the end of this movie, I actually cried. I'm not going to lie. I cried like a child. And I was like, I was not expecting to cry. And if a movie can make me feel emotions like that because of a character development or because I know what the character has been doing and what they've done, and the fight that they're having within, then I think you did a good job. Same with Rey. She went with thinking her parents are going to come back, thinking her parents were nothing and that no one cared about her, to realizing, wait, my parents were nothing because they were trying to protect me.
Well, the only problem I have really with the connection of Rey being a Palpatine, it pretty much reinstates that idea of, in order to have any sort of connection to the Force, it has to be counted by a name or by bloodline in order to be important, which like we said in Last Jedi, I felt like it was a lot better that her parents were nothing.
Yeah.
Is that she didn't have any important connection, and so that anyone could be important. But then this film was just like, nah, throw that out the window. She's a Palpatine, so it has to be important.
But, so there's that. But I do have one thing that has been bugging the stew out of me since I watched this movie. And I just, why?
Is it Reylo?
No. So,
we gotta talk about that, though.
Stop. I have to get this out.
Okay.
So, when they're looking for the little beacon to take them to whatever, to Palpatine, they get sucked into the sand. Mm-hmm. And they're all about to die. So Finn looks at Rey, and he goes, I have to tell you something.
I was also going to bring that up, too.
He never told her. Then Poe tries to get it out when they're about to die again before they get saved by, one of the First Order people. And Poe's like, what were you going to tell Rey? And he's like, I'm not telling you. Then,
actually,
nothing.
Supposedly, it was going to be revealed in the original JJ version that it's like it's possible he was going to reveal he's Force sensitive.
Well, that's what I think too, because remember there was that part, I can't remember what the scene was, but there was a part where he said something. I feel like we have to go back.
Like there were many points in that he's just like, I just have this feeling, I have this connection to the Force.
I just have this feeling. So that's what I'm hoping he was going to say, was that he Force sensitive, but at the same time, we won't know because they didn't say anything, and that bugs the stew out of me, and I'm very angry about it because that is the one thing about this whole movie that I don't like.
Yeah, it's just all over the place.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, you could have said it. Why didn't you say it?
There's all these other important things, and then there's this one that never gets answered.
That big, huge hug when all three of them are hugging after they finally won, and she comes back and she looks horrible because she literally died. And he could have been like, I need to tell you this. But dude, and that would have been so cool. But no, we don't get anything.
Yeah.
Nothing. Zero. And I didn't realize that until I was on my way home, and I realized, I was like, Finn never told Rey what he was gonna tell her. And that bugs me. But other than that, I was fine.
Yeah. And then also there was that random thing at the end.
It wasn't random if you look at the first two movies. It was very
the Reylo kiss?
It wasn't random.
It really was, because nothing about them was connected as being romantically involved at all. It was all platonic. It was all...
Sir,
it was all more of a brotherly or sibling connection to them.
No.
What are you going on about?
All in Last Jedi, when they were her like trying to save him. I'm telling you, that hug that they had a hug in Last Jedi, like all of the feelings and stuff, that was leading up to this. Okay, and I'm just gonna be honest. I said it when I watched Last Jedi for the first time. I said they're gonna try to end up together. I said it because I saw it, and a lot of people did too. And then I thought that they were. You can call me crazy, but you're also a guy, and no offense to all the guys that are watching this, but guys sometimes cannot pick up on things like that.
I'm just telling you, there's a good chunk of other fans that agree with me and say that.
And there's also a good chunk of fans that agree with me.
Yeah, they're called Reylo fans.
And I'm not one of those fans.
They're the Reylo shippers. I understand where you're coming from. I'm just saying. I don't understand where you're coming from in all this.
But it was very obvious. They were trying to make them be romantic. They were trying to make it. They weren't. It wasn't like it was. It was more forced, okay? It was like the whole Padme and Anakin thing, how that was forced. This one was, they were also trying to force it, and that's why they were having these connections, and why the Force was all this other stuff, and in a way, she kind of helped pull him from the dark side. So it's like, in a way, they forced it. It wasn't very easy to force, but they forced it onto all of us. So the kiss wasn't just, oh my gosh, it was more of like, I saw that coming, because they forced it throughout the last two movies. I didn't like it, but I said that I saw it coming because of how much they forced the connection and all this other. It did not seem very brotherly or sisterly at all.
I mean, I personally don't see where you're coming from, but if that's what you see, more power to you. I personally just saw it's just much more of a platonic relationship. Then out of nowhere, smooch, one of them dies. And actually, I personally have issues with the whole fact that Rey survives at the end anyway. Not because I hate Rey as a character, because I like that idea of, like, Ben, I should say, got killed off, and then Rey defeats Palpatine, and then all the Force users are gone. There's actual balance brought to the Force. I was like, hey, that's actually kind of an interesting idea. Then Ben just pops his hands out. I'm like, oh, I know exactly where they're going with this. This is stupid. And just, it's just little issues like that.
Here's the thing that I didn't like about that. I didn't want him to die. If you're going to have a freaking kiss like that and you're going to force it the whole time, you might as well just let them end up together. Why do more? Why do that?
Yeah.
Then you just cause more damage.
Then it's just there and it happened and that's it.
You just redeemed him and you're going to do the whole Darth Vader story again where he just redeems himself and now he dies? That's not why can't we just have a bad guy redeem himself, be a good guy, and then go on his merry way?
Yeah, and to try to relearn
how to
be a proper Jedi.
But it comes back to there's this line, so I'm going to bring up another fandom. I'm so sorry. Once upon a time, there's this, in the storyline, there's all this whole, like, villains don't get their happy endings. Villains don't get their happy endings. And I was like, there's villains that get happy endings. No, there's not. There's no villains in Disney that really get happy endings. Even if they turn good, there's none. This guy literally turned to the good side and was like, I'm going to kill this guy and I'm going to throw my lightsaber off because this was wrong. I shouldn't have killed my father. All this other stuff.
I'm renouncing the Kylo.
Yes. I'm like, come on, Ben, you can do this. And then boom, he dies. And I was like, where's his happy ending? I was so upset for him because I was like, he could have redeemed himself.
Well, he did redeem himself. It's just he had to sacrifice himself.
Yeah, but here's the sad part. Like, no one really knows how much he redeemed himself, except for his mom.
Mm-hmm. Who also died.
Who died.
Mostly just
and
due
Rey.
to the unfortunate passing.
I mean, I feel like Rey will, tell everyone. But still, at the same time, they're going to be like, well, how much of that is true? Like, I think the whole world needed to see that you don't always have to be evil. You don't have to continue down this. And if you turn to the good side, you're not going to be cast off and you're not going to die. You're going to be okay. And just...
Yeah. But also talk about Leia. Can we talk about the fact that it was revealed she was actually being trained as a Jedi? Because
that was cool.
That was cool. Because the whole beginning of the movie, it's like Leia's now training Rey. I'm just like,
how?
Why? Why is she training?
Why did she call her master?
Oh wait, that whole little Force connection. Yeah, that led somewhere. That was really cool. That's a thing that's like in the Star Wars canon has barely been touched upon.
And they touched on it in this movie. And it was
the only other thing I could really think of that really touched on it is the DLC for like the evil side of Starkiller in Force Unleashed 2. On that, it's like an alternate version or an alternate timeline version of the Endor events where Starkiller goes and kills everybody, and then he fights Jedi Leia, and it's super cool.
Yeah.
And that's just a thing that's hardly ever touched on in the films.
Yeah.
Aside from mostly just Leia just going, I feel a connection of someone dying. And so for this one is just going, oh wait, she actually got her development of using the Force. That was cool.
And then she put it down because she knew that it was this lightsaber was going to be used, and her son was going to die.
Yeah.
First off, that whole scene with Kylo Ren, there's two epic fight scenes. The one with Kylo Ren and Rey fighting with the water, that was an awesome scene.
That's cool.
And then the one where Kylo and Rey fight Palpatine, and how she both of them, and yes.
Dual lightsabers is awesome.
Oh, it was so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, it was like she was just like about to give up, and then she, bam, there it is. There's the lightsaber, and then wham, they're just fighting, and I'm just like, yes.
Yeah.
Like, it was really great. The lightsaber battles were great. The ships in the sky were great. We also should talk about the girl with the curly hair. Is she Lando's daughter? Because I believe she is.
Supposedly.
That's what they're
apparently
supposedly saying.
It was supposedly, again, in the JJ cut, supposedly it was going to be revealed
Lando
had lost his daughter.
I am wanting
that his daughter had been stolen by the First Order.
I want the director's cut. I need the director's cut for all.
Release the JJ cut.
Yeah, please. JJ, if you're watching this, I don't know how you're watching
Hashtag release the JJ cut.
If you just release it, okay? Everyone that's watching this, hashtag it out on Instagram, Facebook,
They've already
Twitter.
been doing it.
Just need to hashtag it
It's
all
been a
the way
thing.
out. But it needs to be continue to be a thing.
Thankfully, it's not been nearly as bad as the release the Snyder cut. Oof. But still, it's been out there.
But yeah, so as you can see, there are thoughts.
There are many thoughts.
Good and bad.
And there's also some... I think ultimately my main problem is that there's just way too much in the film.
This should have been a part 2 movie. This should have been a part 1 and then
originally,
a part 2.
it was supposed to be like a quadrilogy. This was going to be split into 2 parts. And it really feels like 2 films that got mashed together.
I mean, it is almost 2.5 hours long.
Yeah, and there's like these random bits of drama that come out of it, like Chewie getting killed, that thing, like where he gets taken on the ship and gets blown up. I'm just like, but wait, there were 2 of those ships. You saw 2 of those ships when he got captured. That doesn't necessarily mean he was on that one. Only for the next scene to go, we got the Wookiee. I'm just like, what was the point of that? What was the point of forcing drama out of nowhere to make everybody sad?
It wasn't to force drama. It was also another thing to make of like Rey having to think that she killed Chewie. So it was like another pull to try to get her to come to the dark side because it looked like she had lost control. Like she can't handle her own Jedi powers. Because we know throughout that whole movie she had been struggling with not being able to control her powers. She talked with Leia about it. She didn't trust herself. That's her biggest flaw. Like, hello, Luke tells her. That's why she goes off and hides.
Hides for like 5 minutes.
5 minutes, and then Luke's like, no.
It's like, again, that's an idea. It's interesting of her feeling that guilt and loss of Chewie. Only problem is they executed it very poorly. Like, for instance, the fact you see 2 cargo ships. Well, had you seen only 1, and then later they tell you there was 2, that'd make it better. Or even better, have it last way much longer. Because I feel it's like, they're like, oh, we lost Chewie. Then the very next scene, we saved the Wookiee. Like, had it kept you going through the movie, thinking Chewie actually died, and let you resonate on that feeling of Rey accidentally killed Chewie, that would have been a lot cooler to me. But it's just, it was so poorly executed that, like, what's the point?
I mean, you can see it that way. I think it was still... I mean, she thought for a very long time that he was dead.
Yeah, Rey does, but as an audience...
But shall we say that there was a really good new character? The little guy?
What was his name?
Bubba.
Bubba?
I don't remember.
I don't remember it either. I remember liking that character.
I think it's that. I think that was what it was. I don't remember. I couldn't understand half the words he said, but he was cute. And he was funny.
Also, C-3PO got a lot more annoying. He was really chatty in this, which ultimately kind of makes sense that suddenly later he's got that thing where I'm going to wipe my memory drive so you can find the thing. Let me take one last look at my friends.
That was a really sad scene.
Yeah, then like a couple scenes later, hey, look, he's got his memory back. It's fine. Like, that was the main thing to me with the sequels, is that everything it does, there was no real lasting consequences to it.
Except for Ben's death.
Yeah, except for Ben's death and Leia's death and Han's and Luke's deaths. Like, for a good chunk of the stuff, it's like something bad happens. Instead of the characters having to live with that mistake or something, it's just solved shortly after.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like I said, there's good ideas in it. I just don't think they go through with it enough.
I think if the option of having 2 movies.
Yeah, had it been stretched out into 2, they could have explored these ideas so much better, and it would have played out a lot better.
They need to take advice from Marvel, who did Infinity War and then came up with Endgame.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they needed to do here. It is what it is.
It's like, had it been split into 2, they could have taken much more time for all the ideas here, and it would have been a lot stronger. But instead, they shoved it all into one movie, and now it doesn't have nearly enough time.
Or they could just do what Lord of the Rings do, and just made it a 3-hour movie. Lord of the Rings is a very long movie.
All 3
of them.
Yeah.
And they're great.
Well, actually, I take that back. Technically, all 6.
Oh, yeah, all 6.
If you count the Hobbit movies.
Which those are also long, and they're still broken up.
And you want to make it even worse, the extended cuts are even longer.
They are. I haven't been able to watch them because they're so long. But yeah.
Anyways, overall, yeah, We've got our very own separate thoughts of the film. The film is solid. I'll give it that.
It's just a solid movie. I don't agree with the critics.
There are ideas about it. I feel like it presents. I just feel like didn't go enough or introduced way too late for me to really get super invested into it. Had it been the two more and it'd been delved more into each of them, then I think it would have been a lot stronger. But as a whole, it's all right. It's not boring per se. Like, it's not a movie that you want to watch by itself. It's not like episode 1 or episode 2 where it's super boring through most of it and a lot of political talk and super slow and where you're just looking at the clock every 5 minutes. You'll be sitting there, you'll be entertained. It's just the stuff going on in it. But it's not a movie that you could ever watch by itself. Yes, you have to watch. It's very much a end of the series. This is hey, you have to watch all 8 of them now. Yeah, and maybe even some of the shows, given the fact that characters like Ahsoka from the Clone Wars were at the end. Right. Like when the Jedi voices, Ahsoka is one of those voices. I know. I gotta go watch all these things. Ahsoka and the dude from Rebels. I love that it's all connected. But at the same time, I'm like, bro, this is so much connection. I just don't know where it's going. This is one of those films that rewards you for doing your homework. Yeah. And punishes you for not. Well, actually, I take that. Not really. It's still a good movie. If at the same time you could see that scene and just say, "Oh, look, other Jedi." It's still going in my collection. I will still have all of them there. Yeah. I will still watch all of them again. Probably not all the time, but yeah. The film is solid. I just don't feel like it stuck the landing it could have, or should have, I should say. I still think that the number one Star Wars movie that's come out, within like the Disney period of time of owning it, is Rogue One. Yeah, I don't even think I'll fight you on that. I'm not, hands down. Because so far, there's not really a lot of people that absolutely hate that. That's even the people that don't like it say, it's okay. It's a great movie. Yeah. So we're going to end it on that note. So everyone just knows that Rogue One has been the greatest Star Wars movie of the Disney Renaissance. Disney reign. And probably the worst being Solo. Funny how the two spin-offs have the top and bottom ranks. Yeah, I think Force Awakens is like... Force Awakens is okay. Last Jedi I like because it introduces a lot of interesting ideas. For me, Last Jedi is... I think Last Jedi for you kind of varies depending on the day. Yeah, it's honestly, it switches between Force Awakens and Last Jedi of where they are in my viewpoint. But I'm not gonna lie, the ending of this and just some of the things that they did, and it's got to be the character development of Kylo Ren that makes this movie the second best Star Wars movie of Disney reign. Yeah. Because it's the character development of Kylo Ren. Like, I can't get over it. It's so great. Okay. So, anyways, with that, we're done with the Star Wars movies. We're done with the Star Wars franchise for a while. We can stop watching all the movies and talk about everything Star Wars. We're not a Star Wars channel, we swear. We're done for a while. Yeah, we like Star Wars, but we can stop. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching this video and this whole long marathon of the Star Wars movies. We hope you enjoyed it. We appreciate it. And we hope you don't hate us for having different opinions from you, whoever you are. But if you do, whatever. You can't do anything to us. It is what it is. Everyone has different views. Everybody has different opinions. Please try to be respectful down in the comments below. To everyone. Yes. No matter how different their viewpoint, just remember, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. You may not like it, but everyone's entitled to their own. Yep. So, anyways, thanks so much for watching the video. If you liked it, feel free to like. Feel free to comment. Tell us what you thought of Rise of Skywalker. Are you a person like me who was super mixed on it? Did you hate it? Are you like AB and you loved it? Just let us know down below. Also, give us suggestions of other things we should check out, whether it be games or movies or some other thing. We'll take a look at it. We have some ideas, but we'll see where it goes. And also, you can subscribe to the channel to see more of our wackiness and craziness ahead. Yeah. Not sure what our upload schedule is going to be like, given the fact that we're now both working new jobs, a lot of hours, but we're still doing this for funsies. Yeah, you'll get stuff. Yeah. Every now and then, just it might not be a regular, consistent content. We don't know. We'll figure things out. Yeah. And also, if you want, you can check out my channel. The link for that will be in the description below. I have video game stuff. and other silly videos. Or you can check out AB's channel.
Because in about 3 months, I'll actually have content.
Yeah. She has plans of stuff she's got coming out fairly soon.
I'm just having to save up for some like stuff that I actually have to get for my channel.
Like a camera.
Like a camera, a microphone, and a PlayStation.
Yeah. And other stuff to actually record things.
Yeah. With all that being said, have a fantastical night, or day, or evening, and a fantastical year.
Yes, because Happy New Year to 2020.
Oof.
Hopefully it's a lot better than the last one.
Yeah. Oof.
Anyways, with all that being said, may the Force be with you.
Always.
Now we must go stare off into the sunset.
What if we just stare off into the distance?
No.
But we don't have a sunset!
It's fine.
We'll
we
can
Photoshop
create
it.
one. We can create one. Just turn around. Just turn around. Oh no. We have to stand up more. No, sit down. No.
I'm done with this bit.